What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Stoppage Time Stooges. I'm Christian, your host, joined by Andrew, Jacob, and Ricardo. This is an episode that I'm extrememely excited for. This is an idea that I put together a couple weeks ago. Luckily, the guys were cool with doing it. So we're going to be talking about each club in the Premier League, and we're all going to mention players that we've been impressed by. Every club has played 19 games besides Brentford and Manchester City. Of course, Manchester City had to go to the Club World Cup, so they had to miss that game. But this is a good, point in the season where we can kind of, determine and kind of give our thoughts on specific players. So, before we get started, guys, how we doing?
Ricardo, once you missed that badge, the Club World Cup champion badge.
I mean,
that was a good badge.
Hey,
yeah,
all of
just
us have
a-
had a club that's won it.
Oh yeah,
Nice back.
you're right.
Yep.
Wow, what are the odds?
I'm gonna miss that badge, and the fact that I have to see it now every time I watch Manchester City play makes me even more annoyed.
Hate it.
It does look good on them, though. Not gonna lie, it does.
yeah.
With their kids,
You're
it does look good.
Jacob, how we doing?
Swell. Looking forward to it today. Getting after it.
There's some league happenings, but we won't talk about those today. We'll save it for next week. Particularly Jacob and I are very happy campers. Well, at least me. I don't know about Jacob. He's happy. He's happy.
Well, when he wants to throw a rant in there, that it's not, he's happy, but
That's
he's not
true. He did send a whole paragraph. Once we told him that he couldn't rant
He did
today,
send a full
he
paragraph.
sent a whole paragraph of stuff he would rant about, even though Chelsea won.
It's because I'm tired of potch ball.
Oh, wow.
Well,
All right.
that's for next week.
That's for next week.
Yes.
All right.
Belongs in the toilet.
Ready to get
Sorry,
going?
go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
We're going to start in alphabetical order. So we're going to go with Arsenal. Today did not have a good result against West Ham.
Wait. Did we explain what was going on?
Yeah, no, I mentioned at the top that we're going to discuss. All four of us are going to mention players that we're impressed by.
That's right.
Doesn't need to be, a player that has been at the club for years. Doesn't need to be a transfer. We're, leaving a lot of flexibility here. So let's start with Arsenal. As I mentioned, not a good result today, but they are second in the league going into their next match. Who wants to start?
I will.
All right.
I've talked about him a lot on this show, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. I'm gonna go with Martin Odegaard. With Arsenal, they have a lot of good players, so it's always about Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice, Mister you know what? Just
You gotta be careful here.
Well, what do you think? I'm scared. He is a smidge.
No,
I'm sorry.
but
He's a little overrated. A little. He's not Roy Keane. I mean, we can calm down. He's not Patrick Vieira. I mean, let's settle down.
Should be the U.S. manager.
Anyway, but I think Odegaard doesn't get enough love that he deserves. I think he's really one of the best midfielders, not just in the Premier League, in the world. I understand why Real Madrid wanted him at such a young age, because they must have seen something in him, and they held on to him for such a long time. But they eventually had to let the bird use his wings, so to speak. And Arsenal got him at a great price. I don't remember what it was, but it was not very expensive. And he's sort of been one of the guys that's been at the centerpiece of their development into what they are now. And I think he's the captain. I think that he is just going forward. I think he's one of the best attacking midfielders in the league. To me, he is. He can score goals. He gets assists. He knows how to create opportunities for his teammates. He's a really good passer of the ball. He always seems like he's calm. And to me, I think he could fit in on any team. Any team be lucky to have him. So to me, yeah, mine would be Martin Odegaard.
Real quick, just to add, Odegaard's transfer fee was $35 million, with add-ons to 40. I don't know if the add-ons were hit. I'm assuming they were. So let's just say they were. That's a good pick. I mean, I didn't want to go. I was thinking Odegaard, but I was like, maybe he's too much of a household name at this point, which is crazy to say. But I'm going with Gabriel. I'm going center back here,
Oh,
I think all the attention in that back line goes to Saliba. And I think Gabriel is doing just as fine of a job there. And, we talk about Arsenal's attack. Their defense is as important, like as good as their attack. And Gabriel, I think, deserves more attention, or I guess, get more credit in that pairing rather than Saliba. And Saliba is a mighty fine player, but Gabriel deserves much more credit.
that's so interesting because I picked Saliba for mine, but
Saliba was my backup option after Odegaard. I was like, all right.
oh man, but it was definitely between the two defenders because literally for the same reasons as you. It's just like that defense, that back line has been. I mean, the two center backs specifically have been, solid the entire season. I mean, say what you want about the left and right backs. That's kind of injuries have plagued them a bit, but the most consistent players have been those two defenders. So either one of those I would have picked for sure, but that's my pick, Saliba for sure.
Yeah, I also had Saliba down.
Yes.
Go figure. But I'll mention the guy that Jacob talked about. That's in his opinion a little overrated. But to be fair, Declan Rice has been very, very impactful through half a season. It's not just what he does defensively. He's had some big goals. He had the go-ahead goal against Manchester United. He saved them against Luton. You can say what you want, but he's costed a lot of money in the summer, and right now he looks like a well worth investment because as you guys mentioned, they are strong defensively, and a lot of that has to do with the six in front of the two center backs. And they've had issues in that position for years. Thomas Partey's been good, but the problem is he's never available. I mean, if you look even further back, that's been a position that they've had to solidify. And maybe play guys that are maybe better as number 8s, but have to be forced to play as number 6. So to me, I think Declan Rice has been well worth the price tag. And without him, I think Arsenal would be far worse off in the league table. But let's move right into another team that's done a lot of good things this season, and that is Aston Villa. They've spent some time at the top of the league. 2 poor results on the bounce, one against Sheffield, and then obviously they lost a 2-0 advantage at Manchester United to lose 3-2. Ricard, I'll start with you. What are we thinking here?
I feel like I have to go with the obvious here. I mean, it's really hard to pick a specific player because a lot of them have stood out, but I went with Ollie Watkins. I mean, personally, I just love watching him. He has 9 goals in the season, 9 goals, 6 assists in the Prem alone. So, I mean, he's been providing goals in more than just scoring them. He's provided them, he's assisting them. So he's a big reason why Villa's I believe 3rd in goals scored in the Premier League. So he's a big part of that. But obviously, a lot of other players could get this. But that's my pick. Ollie Watkins for sure.
I've done a complete 180 in Ollie Watkins this year. I was on fraud watch for me entering the season.
Fraud watch.
Ollie Watkins. I'm telling you, Ollie Watkins. I don't know. It just screams Gareth Southgate guy, and like an Eddie Nketiah. But
he's
Ollie
good.
Watkins, I hold to a higher regard than Eddie Nketiah. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna be honest. I love watching Villa play this year, and Ollie Watkins is for sure not a fraud. I love watching him play week in and week out. And I love watching Villa in general. I guess since I'm rambling, I'll just mention mine. Ezri Konsa. He leads Villa in minutes played. He's just the one constant on this squad who can, he's not going to give you a flashy performance every week, but he'll consistently. He's not going to turn the ball over. He's not going to give away the ball in possession. Makes the right reads every single time. I've never seen Ezri Konsa make a wrong read, but he and he hasn't gotten hurt, so it's a big positive for Villa.
Yeah, I would have said Watkins too, but for the sake of parity, I'll go with Leon Bailey. I think Leon Bailey is starting to come into his own in the Premier League. I think when Villa got him, there was a bit of an expectation that he would, maybe be able to make that change from playing in the Bundesliga and adapt quickly. But I think it's been a slow rise for him. But I think that this lately he's starting to find his form. I don't. He's not in the team enough. I don't think he's starting enough. I think he should be a guy that they should be starting almost every game up top with Watkins. But I do think that he's only going to get better. I don't think he's going to dip and get worse. I think that he has a high ceiling, and I think that Unai Emery seems like to be the right coach. It's kind of crazy. Unai Emery, he was at PSG. They couldn't wait to get him out. When he was at Arsenal, they couldn't wait to get rid of him. And all of a sudden, he takes over Villa, and they snap their fingers. It's like, wait, what? Now they're good. It's almost like in the blink of an eye, they became a really good team, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. And yeah, for the sake of this, I'll go with Leon Bailey.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect shout. Also, I'll add on to that. He is second in the Premier League in goals and assists per 90 at 1.16. He's only behind Erling Haaland. So, I mean, he has 10 goal involvements. I mean, Jacob's right. I mean, when you look at Bailey, Musa Diaby, these are guys that probably should be starting every match because they provide so much creativity and dynamism behind Watkins, who is, snatching at every chance, and he's bagging so many goals. I'll mention another player quickly, John McGinn. He was one that was wanted to be, taken out of the club, I think under Gerrard. There were some rumors about that a couple years ago, but captain, 5 goals from the midfield. He is, one of the, players that doesn't get enough love for this Villa side because, as you guys mentioned, Watkins scoring the goals. The defense has been phenomenal. Emi Martinez is a keeper that, has been much improved since his days at Arsenal. So I think McGinn is a really, really good player, and he's done it for a longer time than people may believe. So that's who I'm going to go with Villa. But let's move on to Bournemouth, who are flying up the table. They are picking up win after win. Dominic Solanke. I'll start. I'll go with Dominic Solanke here. I
It's
think
impossible
probably
not
can all be on this train. 12 league goals. He's tied for second behind Erling Haaland. He's found the net in 6 of his last 8 league fixtures. I mean, this is a guy that was at Liverpool. He was at Chelsea, and there was nothing from him that, screamed Premier League striker that's going to be scoring, upwards of 15 league goals a season. And out of nowhere, Bournemouth are in a position where they could probably finish in the top half if they keep it up. Obviously, a long time to go, 19 games, but Dominic Solanke is one of the best strikers in the Premier League based off form this season. I don't think any of us expected him to have 12 league goals by the end of December.
Yeah. I was gonna pick Dominic Solanke, but luckily I have a backup. I mean, Marcus Tavernier has been very impressive in the midfield for Bournemouth this year, and kind of just doing it all. He's scoring. He's laying out assists. He's second in big chances created, too. I believe he has 4, behind Ryan Christie. So, Tavernier has been impressive, but Solanke is really my standout for Bournemouth this year, especially on this recent streak they're on.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to pick Solanke. I mean, what sucks is that I think all of us wish that Tyler Adams were healthy. And, if he were playing games, maybe we could give him a shout, but I don't think he's played a game yet, which is unfortunate. But it's hard not to pick Solanke. I mean, I echo a lot of what Christian said. I mean, this guy is really like, it's funny because he's still young, but he's a late bloomer to me because I think they had this expectation for him when he was a lot younger. He was at Chelsea. He could never really make an impact. When he, then they thought, oh, well, it's, Liverpool, maybe that'll be the right situation. And it wasn't. And then, it seems like for a couple of years at Bournemouth, he was starting to get a little bit better. And then this year he's starting to take off. And it's good for him. It's good for Bournemouth. I mean, they don't have a lot. I mean, when you watch Bournemouth, there's not a lot to, get excited about. So the fact that they're climbing up the table the way that they are, and they have him, I guess is good for them and the fans. Gives something to watch, and who knows if he can keep this up. If he can, it will be pretty impressive to see how many he ends up with. But yeah, it's hard not to pick him.
It's fair.
Yeah, I mean that's you guys have already said the reason. My pick was also Solanke. Like it could not be clearer, honestly. Like just he's been playing so well for them, and yeah, like you said, Christian, he's been hot as of late. So absolutely deserves most impressive as we're saying it.
Yeah, clean sweep here. Along with Tavernier, who I also had down.
Honorable mention.
Yes. We started with 3 teams that are in good form at the moment. Now let's flip to a team that are trending in the wrong direction. That's Brentford, who have lost 6 of their last 7 in the league. Without Brian Mbomo, it looks really, really bad. Obviously, we've touched throughout the months that Ivan Toney's not there. He's returning soon, but we don't know what his situation looks like. Jacob, I'll start with you. Any silver linings here?
I mean, you mentioned Mboma. That would have been my pick. He seems like he's the only source of offense for them. So if I'm not gonna say him, I think Neil Maupay's good. Okay. I mean, this team. I mean, they are literally West Ham if they just refuse to score. I mean, that's what they are. I mean, they're West Ham, on welfare, so to speak. I mean, that's what they are. Like, they're a brutal watch. There's nothing fun about watching Brentford. And again, I can't believe they beat Chelsea. I will not get into that any further. I'm just gonna put that out there. It still pains me very much.
Biggest club in West London.
But again, I mean, Mbomo just seems like a guy that, he's keeping them over the line. He's keeping them out of relegation. And, I mean, the whole thing with Ivan Toney, we don't know if he's coming back. We don't know if he's coming back, especially for Brentford, rather. So, and if he does come back, how rusty is he going to be? Is he just going to, right out the gate, be scoring goals? Maybe. I don't know. But I guess I got to go with Mbomo, and if not, maybe Neil Maupay, because he seems like he has a pulse. So, I guess we'll give him a shout. And I think he played for Everton, so he has to have. I guess he's decent. But I mean, when they came up, they had like Christian Eriksen, they had David Raya. They don't really have many standout players at all, and you're seeing the results of it, which is they struggle to win games.
Yeah. It's a good pick, though, Jacob. Bomo was kind of my pick. I mean, kind of alluded to it before, Christian. It's like that you see how big of a loss like you feel like his loss, not being there on the field. But maybe I'll throw in. I always forget to say his name. Is it Johan Wissa? I can't. Wissa, right? It's something like that. But I feel like he's always one of their more consistent players. I think he's top 4 and then most minutes played for them this season. So I mean, Brentford has suffered a ton of injuries as well, just like a lot of other teams. But him being there, kind of the middle of the park, and he's scored a few goals, 4 goals and an assist. So, it's interesting saying that because he's a midfielder and he's the one scoring. I think like the second most goals on the team, or tied for first, something like that. But yeah, it's there's not really many players to pick from other than maybe Wissa and Mbomo was the most obvious. But
well, you guys know when you can't score, you better have a good defense, and so that's why my pick is Ethan Pinnock. Give the Jamaican some love. So Ethan Pinnock, I don't know if you guys know this, he's blowing out every other player in terms of successful clearances in the Prem. I think he has over 150 already, which is insane. Like I think the next closest is like 70 or something. So he's like more than doubled. Ethan Pinnock, give some CONCACAF love. Ethan Pinnock.
Yeah, that's fair.
Good
I'm going to
shout.
go with the player that was really important in year one of Brentford in the Premier League. Didn't play well last year, was dealing with some injuries. Christopher Norgard in the midfield.
Interesting.
I know he's captained the side. If we look at Brentford over the second half of the season, they're going to need to be good, as Andrew mentioned, defensively and in the midfield because no Tony potentially, and Bomo is out till March, which
He's out till
I
March.
honestly think, yeah.
Oh. They're going down.
Yeah, I was going to say,
It's
this is
over.
an episode about impressive players, but Brentford are in trouble. I mean, if Tony does not come back and isn't scoring, Brentford might be going down. So, but for Norgard, he started 17 of 18 matches. He's almost at the number of minutes he played last year. Just a good defensive midfielder who, works hard. But again, as we've mentioned, defensively, this team has been a mess. Pinnock, Nathan Collins, these guys are having to make so many, defensive plays, clearances, tackles, aerial duels. I mean, Brentford have been as bad defensively as anybody in the Premier League. And their loss against Wolves a couple nights ago, 4-1, probably one of their worst performances of the season. So Brentford got to pick it up if they want to survive, because I don't see a way for them to, manufacture enough goals to keep them afloat. But that's enough of Brentford. Let's move on to Andrew's club, Brighton and Hove Albion, who got a massive result tonight against Tottenham. Of course, we got to start.
I called it. I said last week, that we're getting Spurs at the right time. And look what happened. We'll save that for next week.
They're falling apart. They're falling apart.
Spurs are falling apart. Anyways. And Ange post game. I'm sorry. They played that on Peacock. I'm going to rant about that next week. I have turned on Big Ange.
Why don't you just do it right now?
Brighton. So, I could very easily go with my guy, João Pedro, who has been, to me, the most impressive Brighton player this year. But we're going for underappreciated players. And I think João Pedro is starting to get appreciation, at least from what I hear on commentary around the league. So I'm not going to pick João Pedro for that reason, although he is my MVP so far this season. I'm going to go with old reliable Pascal Gross.
Yes.
Actually,
I knew it.
I thought I was gonna say Estupinian because you.
No, he was hurt. He was hurt.
I know, but you love Estupinian.
We saw Pascal Gross in person.
We did see Pascal Gross in person. I love Pascal Gross. Just he can play everywhere, and that's what I love about Brighton. My second pick here was James Milner for this very reason as well. Both over 32. Like Pascal's 32, Milner's 37. And they're playing midfield, fullback, center back. They're literally everywhere. But Pascal Gross, he's leading the club in assists this year. He's literally, like I said, he's been starting fullback, center attacking mid. He's played defensive mid. He's played center back. He's literally everywhere, and he can play all of them very well. I don't know where Brighton would be without Pascal Gross. He kind of keeps it gel together in possession, and he has touch around the net as well. He can score if he wants, but he'd rather dish it out. And I love Pascal Gross. Very underappreciated. And you know what? He doesn't get hurt either, so I love that.
Yeah, he's got 3 goals, 6 assists. So I mean, yeah, versatility and availability, 2 really big assets to have as a player, and I mean availability especially. So I'm so glad you picked him. I had a feeling, I was like, if it's not João Pedro, it's either him or Mitoma. But
Mitoma's disappointed me this year, gonna be honest.
Really?
He's disappointed me. He had a great start.
That's so interesting.
He's kind of disappeared. It's like he's kind of disappeared. I don't know. He creates
feel
some
like
chances, but
he's still one of their most creative players.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean,
absolutely. But
fair.
Yeah.
That's valid. All right.
But anyways, Pascal Gross. Yes, great guy.
Jacob, what are you thinking?
Mine would be Karim Matoma. I really like watching Karim Matoma play. I think he is just really fun to watch. The way he cuts past defenders, the way he gets into the box, the way he can score and pass. I just think he's a really fun player to watch. I'm very curious to see the profit they get on him in a year, because it's going to happen. With the Who, I don't know, but I think if he can like go up another level, there's going to be some other club that's going to want him badly, and I think that Brighton will give him up because they don't seem that they care that much about, not about loyalty, but more about just like like we'll do what's best for business, so to speak. So I like Matoma a lot, and again, obviously, if I didn't pick him, I probably would have picked João Pedro because he seems like he's on fire right now. I mean, they got him from Watford, which is and how much did they spend on
40
him?
mil.
Was it 40?
So 40 mil, which
It was
for Brighton-
Brighton's most expensive signing
for
ever.
Brighton, that's a lot. So, and he certainly lived up to the billing, especially of late. Seems like it took him a little bit of time to get like his feet wet. I think he's honestly a lot. I think he's a lot better than Evan Ferguson. I think Evan
I think at
Ferguson's
this point,
good,
yeah.
More polished for sure.
but I feel like with Evan Ferguson, it's like he had a hat trick in one game, and he kind of like disappeared, and hasn't really been that great since. It's hard to top that, but but again, he's really young, so I'm not gonna like kill him. But I just I think that the Evan Ferg like bandwagon, like I don't think it's gonna take time for him to really become like a polished striker.
To that point, I think it's because João Pedro is more versatile. He can play the wing very well, and that's where he's been playing recently. Is more of a if it's not a 4-4-2, as with two strikers up top, De Zerbi will put him at like a left wing, if he doesn't want to go 4-4-2. And João Pedro can play very well left wing, especially with Mitoma out now. That's probably gonna be his position for
And
for a while.
Fati's out, right?
And Fati's out too, but
that's right.
so Mitoma's out till I think February, and then Fati comes back I think around the same time. So the next player to come back will be very interesting is Julio Enciso. I want to see what he could do. He scored a cracker last year. And that's the only thing I can talk about with Julio Enciso. But he'll be coming back in mid-January. And I feel like if we do this again at the end of the season, if we go underappreciated players, Enciso, if he plays, he might be in this conversation as well. But that's a big if. So.
Yeah, I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit and say João Pedro. I mean, I'm looking at his numbers now. He scored 24 goals for Watford in 109 appearances. He already has 11 in 25 for Brighton. And I know we're focusing on the Premier League, but truthfully, I don't know if they get out of their group or certainly don't win the group without him in the Europa League. He's had a big year, club and nationally. He's now a Brazilian. He's had as a cap for them. So, and if we look at them, there's a shot we'll see him at the Copa America. They don't have a consistent number 9 scoring goals week in, week out. And if João Pedro does it for Brighton for the rest of the season, you have to, make a strong argument for him to get to the Copa America squad. But yeah, I'm excited to see how he develops because this is a kid that's 22. He's just starting to really, find himself. And I think this is going to be a huge season for him. I would not be surprised if he scores upwards of 15 league goals, especially under De Zerbi, who loves attacking football. I think there's going to be chances for him, and I think he's going to have a really strong second half.
And as you know after today, he is their primary pen taker as well, and so he's going to get lots of opportunities at pens. I believe he already has 8 or 9 pens with Brighton, which is insane. But yeah, I mean he led every player in the Europa League group stage in goals as well, I believe. So yeah, no, he's had a fantastic start. So cannot be more pleased.
Good times for Brighton, but let's move on to our first promoted side, Burnley, who have had a tough start to the season. Currently battling relegation. Seems like that's going to be something they have to deal with for the rest of the season. Who wants to start with them?
Well, there's only one option.
Yeah.
It's James. It's James Trafford. It's James Trafford. It absolutely is only James Trafford.
James Trafford. He's given up 38 goals.
Okay, well,
because they don't have any defense. They don't have.
The
they
second
can attack.
most saves.
I was gonna pick him, but then I saw like the goals against. I was like,
what?
whoa.
No, what sold me? No. You got it. Context. Context is king. What impressed me? What sold me on James Trafford was his performance against Brighton. I swear Brighton had like 12 shots on goal, and he had like 10 saves, 11 saves. Like he is spectacular, lights out. I wouldn't be shocked if Burnley gets relegated. I have a feeling he's just going to get sold back to a bigger club, and he's going to get playing time. He's young. He's definitely one of the few bright spots, considering like there are so many opportunities at net, shots on goal this season against Burnley. He's facing a lot of shots, so I'm not even looking at his goals allowed. The saves impress me. He makes spectacular saves. Like he'll be leaping off 1 foot, fingertips on the ball. Like he's I'm not going to call him the next big thing. Of course I'm not. But he's their only bright spot this year. Only bright spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why don't we? Yeah. I wrote someone else's name down. I don't know. I can't even say his name. I just saw that he played a lot, so I'm like, all right, I guess he's okay. I'm like, wait, he plays every time, so I guess he's good. I mean,
that's really you, man.
Well, I mean, it's Burnley. It's not like I'm picking.
No, he has a point. Jacob has a point.
Yeah,
it's like a homeless person trying to find a good meal out of the garbage. I mean, it's a lose-lose. I mean,
what's the name of the guy? Or try to pronounce it.
Zeki Amdouni.
Okay, I think that
yeah.
I'm seeing his numbers. Yeah,
2 goals and 1 assist. He's a striker. So I'm like.
Ricardo, did you go with Trafford?
I did, yeah. That was, easy.
It's easy, the easiest thing. I'm gonna be honest. That was probably the easiest pick for me out of all these
up there.
James Trafford.
It's sad when it's a goalkeeper though. Like, I don't know.
That's fair.
I do have another goalkeeper on my list. Just
so do I.
Pointing it out.
I hope we have the same one.
Yeah.
I will mention another player. Trafford's definitely the standout. I mean, he's been excellent for the U21s for England. I think he won the Euros, despite not having a lot of first-team football, because he's obviously been with Manchester City through their academy, and this is his first real shot. This screams Jordan Pickford with Sunderland back in the day when he was dealing with so many shots on goal, and then Everton swooped up and took him as soon as they went down. So that'll be a conversation, I think, for the second half of the season for us to discuss, because I think Trafford is going to get relegated with Burnley, and then some club in the Premier League is going to snatch him up for, upwards of 30 to 40 million. I think that's clear. I'm going to go with Lyle Foster, the South African striker. I know he's dealt with some mental health stuff, which he was away from the squad for, I think, a little less than 2 months, but he has the best number of goals for the squad, 3, which is certainly not a lot. But again, no Luka Kolyosho, who we've talked about a little bit, was like literally their only bright spot in terms of creativity. If they are going to find a way to stay up, they need to be good defensively, which seems like a very difficult thing because they just don't have the ability to, defend. And if they want to stay up, the other part is they're going to have to take their chances. And if Lyle Foster can stay at least on the field, it gives them at least a shot. I don't think they're going to stay up, but if they are, Lyle Foster's probably going to have to, find double figures in the second half of the season. But very difficult run for Burnley. But we talked about Brighton for Andrew. It's now Jacob's time for Chelsea. Jacob, floor is yours.
Do I have to? No, I'm kidding. All right, I guess I gotta go with Cole Palmer on this one. I can't say this was an easy decision, because it wasn't, because there wasn't a lot of good to pick from. But Cole Palmer is my light at the end of the tunnel. Well, actually, no, he's not. Nkuku is, but who in 2 games I already think is better than Nicholas Jackson, despite only scoring 1 goal. So in fact,
7
he
goals
actually
for Nicholas Jackson.
go look up those 7 goals.
Don't
You could
let's
have
not forget about the Mickey Mouse hat trick against Spurs.
Oh, we know.
All of us could have scored those 7 goals. That's how bad they were. But I like Palmer a lot. I mean, when I saw that they got him from Man City, I was like, oh, he must have some talent. And he was only bought for like 40 million, which was like responsible spending, which I almost had I almost passed out. I thought I was dreaming. But I think it took him a little bit of time to get into the 11, but once he did, he made himself the sort of guy where it's like he's in the 11 automatically. And I think he's had a really good year. He's been he scored a lot of goals on penalties, and which is I guess is good, because it's nice to know that there's someone reliable to do that, and he stepped up to the plate in a big way with that. I think that I think they played him a lot on the right wing, but I actually think that his best position is as a 10, as an attacking midfielder. I think he's looked better in that position than he has on the right wing. Personally, I think he's more creative that way, and he can do more. He's very young, so he still has ways to go, but for a team that is not giving me a lot to be happy about, he is one of the bright spots. And I'm going to give a small shout to Jordy Petrovic, who I know he's given up 4 goals in 4 games, but I just feel more at ease with him in the goal than Frodbert Sanchez, who I think would be a very fine backup goalie, but he is not a starting goalkeeper. Not for Chelsea. I'm sorry. That is not acceptable. So with Petrovic, he seems like he's not lazy with the ball. He made some really good saves. He saved the penalty in the Carabao Cup. I so far I've been satisfied. Most of the goals that he's given up have not really been his fault. They've been horrendous defending. But yeah, for Chelsea, I like Palmer a lot, and Petrovic.
I love this character development for Jacob on Georgian Petrovic. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, he was screaming, "We signed an MLS keeper!"
Well, that is true. He is from the MLS.
But now you trust him enough to be your number 1 goalkeeper. So I love this arc. But
but hold on. I was never. I was like the big. No. I was not a Sanchez guy from the start. I never wanted Kepa out.
Yeah, true.
You can have him back.
Consistent with that.
You can take Kepa.
I'll take him back with open arms.
Please be my guest.
And you can throw Lunin in there too if you want.
No, we're good. Jacob, did you ever consider Sterling?
That's where I was leaning.
But lately, he's really pissed me off with the way he's played. I mean, the Wolves game, he cost them the Wolves game in many regards with one of the most selfish acts I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a 3-on-1, Raheem. He have 2 guys wide open. I understand that you don't want to pass to Nicholas Jackson, but he can score if no one's in front of the goal. I mean, you have to be mad. That's the only way he can score, if no one's in front of the damn goal. And no one was. And Palmer was there, but nope. And no, I'm not even going to go around the goalkeeper. I'm just going to shoot it right at him. And this guy dives. He's diving. Every time he's in the box, dive. Every time. That's why I tweeted that he dives more than an Olympic swimmer. It's a joke, but it's true. I mean, you know what we need? How about another international break? And Southgate, don't put him in the team, because that's the only damn way he's gonna play good. If he has to get motivated by that. because otherwise it's just throwing my arms in the air. Oh, I'm gonna dive instead of actually trying to draw a penalty the right way. I mean, I if this was like 3 weeks ago, I said yeah easily, but he's not been on my good side lately. He is good. I don't expect the world from him, but there are certain things that he does that really tick me off. So yeah.
Valid. Yeah.
Andrew, did you pick one?
Yeah. I wanted to piss Jacob off.
no.
So I was gonna pick.
You can go in a lot of different directions then.
I was gonna pick Cole Palmer.
If you want to piss me off, I have a feeling of who you're gonna say.
Mr. Cardio King himself, Conor Gallagher. I mean, Jacob, hear me out.
Oh, okay.
He's leading your club in assists. All right. Six big chances created.
How many games have they played?
I mean, 19, but that's another story. Or is it 18?
19.
It's 19, yeah. Yeah, so, Jacob, I know you hate Conor Gallagher.
Doesn't do anything, Andrew.
I know I saw a report today that they're going to sell him next month for between 45 and 50 million.
But don't sell him to Spurs. Sell him to someone else, because I know that Ange ball will work. So I don't want him there.
But
I just think freaking Burnley or something like that.
I just think you should respect your temporary replacement captain more.
Don't get me. Oh my god, I have to watch him walk out with the stupid armband on. I want to puke every time. It makes me so mad. And Reece James ain't coming back anytime soon, so I have to get used to it, which I can't take. Look, I understand that he's an academy player and he tries hard. Conor Gallagher is the guy in gym class that tries hard. I mean, that's what he is.
He's Cardio King.
Just because you throw your body around and commit stupid fouls because you're not a proper defensive midfielder doesn't make you a good player. I mean, this guy got freaking sent off in 25 minutes. That also happened. That the stupid Chelsea Twitter won't acknowledge. Instead, I have to look at these stupid empty stats about him completing passes. Oh wow,
he's doing a mighty fine job at it.
he adds. He is one of the most replaceable people I have ever seen on a soccer field. Ever. Beyonce had a song "Irreplaceable." He's the opposite. Okay, he is replaceable.
Oh, you mean underappreciated?
No. They couldn't sell him. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, I'd give him the bus ticket out the door. What I want him to be is a squad player, but I don't want him I don't want him every week. I don't want to have to watch it. I can't do it anymore. He gives the ball away all the time. He commits stupid fouls, and then he tries to get stupid draw fouls, and it doesn't work either. He's no eye for goal. He's not some amazing passer of the ball, and no, I need a hell of a lot more to be convinced that he's any good, and I'm not backing down from this either.
That's fair. I had Raheem Sterling as well. I think he's been better this season. I mean, as Jacob would know, didn't have a really good first season.
He has been better. I will say that.
He had 6 league goals last year. He's already up to 5. Not a great first season at Chelsea. I don't know what that was really down to, but he did have a really good period. About a month, 6 weeks ago, where he was probably Chelsea's best player. And I think as we see the season unfold, I think the connection between Sterling and Nkunku, I think that's going to probably really develop. And if that does, I think Chelsea will start to pick up points because I think those are their 2 most important attackers. Of course, Jackson and Broja have to score. But if they can get goal contributions from those 2, I think Chelsea will be in much better shape as we get through January and February into the second half. But let's move on to Crystal Palace, who played Chelsea earlier this week. It's been a very difficult season. They've had some trouble replacing the qualities of Wilfried Zaha, but there's certainly some good players in this squad. What do you guys think?
I'll go first. Michael Elise. When he's on the pitch, his offensive impact is noticed, and he just scored that goal the other day against Man City. A nice goal for him, but he only has 8 appearances. I think if he doubled that, Crystal Palace would be in a different position right now, and I think
I agree.
that goes unnoticed when people analyze him.
I completely agree. He's not who I picked because I feel like he hasn't played enough, but I would certainly agree with you that he is by far their best player when he's on, and I think that if he had played the whole season, they would not be teetering on the relegation battle. Personally, I just believe that. The guy that I picked was Mark Gahey. I forgot how to say his name the right way. He's one of their center halves.
Guehi, right?
Guehi. He's played I think in every game, almost every minute. He's not flashy, but I mean, the fact that he's playing in every game shows to me that he's probably a pretty good player. He seems like he's reliable. He came from Chelsea. And this is pre-goalie, so that means he's probably good. But no, in all seriousness, I do think he's a pretty solid player. I think he's a guy that they want to keep I think he's on it. He already signed an extension, and he's the guy that they want to keep around, just like they signed Elise to an extension. But yeah, I would pick Guahi.
He got picked for England too.
Deservedly so, in my opinion.
Yep.
I went with the other center back there. I went with Joachim Anderson, but pretty much for the same reason. He's played every single game as well, and even has a couple of goals and assists for a center back. And I just love giving that center backs love, and just they're typically a side that defend fairly well under that system. So those two certainly at the back, I feel like deserve it. And Elise it was a good pick too, though. But
yeah, I agree. Elise already has 3 goals and an assist, and he obviously had some injury issues early in the season. They're quietly in 15th, only 3 points from safety. If Eze and Elise can't stay on the field, again, we mentioned Brentford earlier. I think Crystal Palace are also going to be fighting off relegation down the stretch because I just don't know if they have enough goals. I mean, they need Edouard and Mateta to be, their goal threats, and I don't know if those two are consistent enough to keep them afloat. But Elise, after potentially getting a move to Chelsea in the summer, has been good since returning from injury. So I definitely agree with you guys on that one. Let's move over to Everton. Not a good result against Manchester City, kind of an expected one, but since getting the point deduction, they have played okay. They'd be on 26 points had they not got that, but right now they're in 17th. So anyone want to start here?
I will. I will pick my guy, Abdoulaye Doucouré. Scores big goals. I always think he scores goals when they need them the most. They're always significant goals. I think he scored a goal. I always remember that he scored the goal to basically keep them away from relegation last year.
Yeah,
he seems like he's lives for the moment. He's kind of an unsung hero. He's pretty good at Watford. I feel like, if I remember correctly, too, when he was there. He's worked under multiple managers, been pretty good. I think he was good for Ancelotti when he was there. I think he fell out of favor with Lampard, which was, of course, we couldn't see his talent. But Sean Dyche is a good manager, in my opinion, and does see his talent and has gotten a lot out of him, which is good. And I do think that he's like one of the heartbeats of their team. So if I had to pick someone, it'd probably be Abdoulaye Doucouré. If not, I think Pickford's actually having a pretty good year. I've in the past thought he was overrated, but I think that this year is probably one of his best seasons that I can remember. I think a lot of their games where it's like in the past they probably lost by bigger margins, and this year, I mean, part of that is Dyche's coaching, this extremely defensive-minded coach who gets results like that, but he's stepped up as well.
Jacob stole both my picks,
I'm
including
sorry.
my backup. No, it's okay. I thought it was it was really funny when Christian compared James Trafford to Jordan Pickford earlier, because Jordan Pickford is my other goalkeeper on this list. This is his best season by far, I think, so far. He's tied for the EPL lead in clean sheets with 6 for goalkeepers, and I mean, I feel like he's just not getting talked about. I maybe, the little international play, the spotlight post World Cup, maybe he's off him a little bit, but he's having a quietly good season, and I mean, without him, I mean, if Everton, if Everton had, say, like a, for sake of argument, Robert Sanchez, from Chelsea, I think they'd be they would be in the bottom 3 rather than just outside the bottom 3 after the points deduction. So Jordan Pickford's mine. Decore, though, I mean, he's the real deal. He's the real deal.
Ricardo, what are we thinking?
Yeah, I had Decore too. Damn, I was gonna. Jacob beat me to him, so yeah. I mean, you pretty much said it all. Scores big goals when they matter most. So yeah, I mean, I think he's their leading goal scorer too, isn't he?
Would not surprise me.
I'm pretty sure he is.
That's crazy if that's right.
Calvert-Lewin he is. Well, that's kind of crazy to think about, but yeah, I mean, hey, someone's got to score him, I guess.
Yeah, I think, and we remember last year he kept them up with a goal on the final day against Bournemouth.
Yeah,
he scores goals that most attackers, maybe don't. I mean, this guy comes up with big goals and big moments, not shy to find the big goal. So credit to him. I had Jared Braithwaite, the center back. Before going to PSV last year, it was pretty much a non-factor at Everton, specifically in the first team. But he looks really comfortable next to Tarkowski. They had a lot of problems defensively last year. They still do, but at least under Dyche, it's a little bit better just because they set up where, they have 8 or 9 behind the ball. Braithwaite and Tarkowski are, they link up pretty well. They had guys like Michael Keane in the past, Connor Cody on loan. It just hasn't worked out defensively. But Braithwaite has looked pretty good. I think he's going to probably find himself, playing every match at this point because he's athletic. And Tarkovsky is obviously a guy who really is reliant on what he does in the air. Braithwaite at least is a little bit better on the ball. So, again, if Everton are going to stay up, which I think they will, they've played they've been much improved, even after, the point deduction. I know they've had a couple bad results, but I think they're just too good to go down. But let's move on to Fulham, another team who's, been very up and down, but they do have some, important players that have had really good seasons. Ricardo, I'll start with you. What are we thinking here?
Fulham. Let me see. Let me pull up my list real quick. Who did I pick? I didn't pick Jedi. I picked another keeper. I picked Bernd Leno. He's been making some really big saves. I mean, he had one game where he had I think every single shot he saved, every single shot on target he saved them all. And he has the 3rd most in the league, which typically isn't a good sign for their defense. So
Tim Ream.
Oh boy, yeah, old man over there. But yeah, I would say Bernd Leno because he's kept him in so many games, and he's a reason why they've been winning games too. It's not just keepers. I mean, that's such a big part this season. So I'm going with Leno.
I picked João Palhinha. I think that he's one of the. I think he's. I get why Bayern wanted him, and that whole deal was very awkward. How he was going to Bayern, and then he wasn't at Bayern, and then he signed an extension at Fulham. It makes no sense at all. But we don't have time to get into all that. But to me, I think he's one of the best holding midfielders in the world. As far as guys that are defensive midfielders. He like I was looking up the numbers like tackles, interceptions, blocks, clearances, and headers when he's at the top of like all of those statistics. He doesn't give you much with the ball, but he's in as far as like stopping people, he's one of the best. I think Fulham probably wish he could do more with the ball because they just have a really hard time scoring goals. They're a really weird team because they had a couple. They only get like 5-0. They had like the week where they won two in emphatic wins, and then they just bottom out. Like there's no consistency at all. I think they really miss Mitrovic. I think he really carried them on his back when he was up. And Raul Jimenez is nowhere close to him as a goal scorer, just not even remotely close, and they just can't really make up for his production. They've tried. They have decent wingers. I like Iwobi. I like Willian, but they're not. They can't score to the level that Mitrovic could. So, but yeah, for the sake of this, I'll stick with Paulinho.
You know, Joel Paulinho was also mine. Pretty easy pick, but
Yeah,
you know, I also I did mention Raul Jimenez, and only if he has a good game. Because if he has a good game, Fulham will win. It's a guaranteed win. If he scores a goal, Fulham will win, or at least get a point. So he's like my X factor, I guess, but I don't know if that's enough to be underappreciated. João Paulinho though is incredible. I think he's way too good for Fulham, and I would not be shocked if he's even gone in January.
be a big fee. Definitely.
Yeah, massive.
Big fee.
Yeah.
How much you think?
If it's Bayern, probably
80?
85 to 90.
Whew.
Probably where I go. Yeah.
I mean, I think the fact that it would be in January makes it a little more increased because
Yeah.
Fulham can ill afford to lose him.
No.
Again,
Yeah.
another team we've mentioned a couple that are trending kind of in the way where they're going to be battling relegation. If Fulham loses him, they're going to be right in the mix for relegation. Because again, as Jacob mentioned, they really miss Mitrovic, who could just bail you out for the last couple years. Even if they're not playing well, he can find the net, twice in a game and, snag a point or, steal 3. They don't have that luxury this year. So the margin for error would be much, much more slim if Paulinho would find a way to leave, whether that's for Bayern or another club in Europe. I'm going to go with Anthony Robinson, first American I'm mentioning. He's been really good defensively. He's also been much improved going forward. 2.37 interceptions per 90. He's a 99th percentile among fullbacks. He's also in the 84th percentile for both successful take-ons and progressive carries. So I think he's been one of the more improved fullbacks in the league. He's had a couple really good performances. I know against Liverpool, they were bad defensively, but the one guy that was pretty quiet in that match was Salah, who was matched up with Robinson. So I think, we've watched the U.S. men's national team pretty heavily over the last, 16 to 18 months. He's been a guy that's really, stepped it up both for club and for the national team. So he's my, mention for this. But let's move on to our 11th side, and that's Liverpool. Obviously,
Take it away.
Take it away. A lot of players I can mention. I'm going to lean on Trent Alexander-Arnold. 2 goals, 3 assists. He's been fantastic going forward. Obviously, there's concerns defensively. But he's had some, good underlying numbers in that department as well. He's got 1.33 interceptions per 90. He's in the 86th percentile. Of course, as we've talked about, this is a guy that likes to drift into the midfield, and they kind of form some sort of a back 3. But Trent's delivery, his goals, they've come in clutch moments against Manchester City, the winner against Fulham. I think he's been a really big player this season, playing a different role. Is he not? He's definitely not a natural right back. He'll probably never be. And I think, honestly, at some point, he's going to move into playing a full-time midfield role. I don't know how soon, but Alexander-Arnold, definitely one of the standout performers as to why Liverpool are currently top of the league.
He'd be better off as a wing back, but Liverpool just don't play five at the back or 3 at the back with wing backs. That would be his real best position, but they just aren't going to do that. So if that's the case, then he would be probably better off being in a midfielder. But yeah, Trent's really good. Mine would be I would pick Salah, but that's too obvious because everyone knows he's maybe the best player in the league. And I think he's on the way to being a top 5 Liverpool player ever. I think he's that good. I think he's. I still think he needs to win a little bit more. I think he's got to win more than one Premier League title. That's just me. That's just
fair,
how I look at it. I understand Stevie G didn't win any, but still, I think that Salah. I don't think Liverpool have won enough trophies, in my opinion, since Klopp's been there. They've won enough to where it's been acceptable because prior to him being there, they hadn't won the Premier League since '91. They won the Champions League. They've done both those things, but that's my one thing with Salah. But I picked Dominic Szoboszlai. I know Christian's a big fan of his. I think that he's injected this vibrant energy to their midfield that they didn't have last year at all. And he's injected this attacking mindset that they've needed. And I think he's been a real playmaker for them and has been a big impact player. So with that being said, I'd take Szoboszlai.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Also, I'm going to go with Van Dijk. I know he's not quite, back to the pre-injury form, but it's really hard to ever get back to that form for any player. But still, this defense is, I think right now top with Arsenal, and I think they might be better than, or the best defense in the league. And Christian, you literally just said, with kind of the liability that Trent Alexander-Arnold kind of brings with this team, it's you need established, confident center backs to cover that hole. And I feel like Van Dijk is really good. I mean, experienced veteran. Obviously, he's been in the Premier League for ages now, so he at least on that front too, covers that hole and fills in really well for whatever deficiencies they might have on defending, really. So I'd say Van Dijk.
All good picks. Let me go a little underrated here. Just too bad he just got hurt. Kostas Tsimikas. He did a good job replacing Andy Robertson, who's a very, very good fullback. And I don't know what Liverpool. I mean, they're gonna try, I guess, Joe Gomez.
I guess
temporarily, but he was doing a good job holding down that left back position while Robertson was out. And if we're just going through underappreciated players, I think Tsimikas has to get some consideration for that. I mean, I think he's also, I read earlier today, in terms of foot mob ratings, he has the 5th highest on Liverpool this season. Average foot mob rating. So take that.
As soon as you said foot mob, Jacobs, started to roll his eyes. Not the biggest fan.
Yeah. Take that as you may. I was gonna say take that as you may. But as a defender, that's impressive. So close to Tsimikas. Too bad he's hurt.
Yes. Broken collarbone, probably going to be out till, I think I saw something about March, maybe April. So huge loss, especially with Robertson out. But let's move on to Luton Town. Despite being in the relegation spots, I find them to be very entertaining, especially at home. Andrew, I'll start with you. What are we thinking here?
I agree. I love watching Luton Town play at home in that rat stadium. It's hilarious. But hey, Alfie Doughty is one player who catches my eye in that midfield. I believe he leads them in assists too. Yeah, he leads them in assists before. But he's not a physically impressive player by any means. But he's just fun to watch. He's a little quick. Got some pace on him. Just an entertaining player. And that in Luton, as Christian alluded to, Luton. I mean, yes, they're 18th right now, but they are an entertaining squad when you look at the lower end of the Premier League, and they've given some fights to big clubs this year. So they're by no means a joke. I would consider Burnley and Sheffield more of a joke than Luton. So no, Alfie Doughty. I think he's gonna get some looks if they get relegated.
I'll go with Andres Townsend, mainly because I've heard of him before. I would pick Ross Barkley, but my feelings towards Ross Barkley I can't get over because they're mostly negative. He's like Conor Gallagher if Conor Gallagher did things but didn't do them well. Conor Gallagher just does nothing. Ross Barkley would do stuff, but he wouldn't do it well. Like he always
Well, he
missed the
wasn't
goal.
fit either. That was the problem too.
No, but when he was fit, he'd miss every pass is too far, always missing the goal. Just like, but it's a different kind of nothing. But anywho, I'll pick Andres Townsend mainly because I feel like if they need people if they want to stay up, they need people that have been in those kind of situations before, have played for decent teams. He has pedigree, so I think that he can definitely give them a push for the rest of the season. So I'll pick him.
I'm gonna go with Carlton Morris. And he's leading them in points. 3 goals, 2 assists, and he's played the third most minutes. And again, I feel like I keep going back to this. The availability thing is that's such a huge part of just being part of the squad. And so I mean his consistent presence on the field, and he might not score very many goals. I mean, no one really on Luton does, but seeing that he's the leading goal scorer, and at least provides some sort of hope for them. But yeah, I'd probably go with Morris, but Doughty was my other option, as you picked, Andrew. But
well, that's fair. Doughty's been really good going forward too, which is what's really given them some life, because they have a couple guys that really are good in set pieces. And with his delivery, I think they're going to be able to, threaten teams from corners and free kicks in good areas. But I'm going to go with Jacob's former Chelsea midfielder, Ross Barkley. I don't know if you guys know this, but he was actually in France last year for Nice.
yeah,
He played less than 100 or 1,000 league minutes. He's already over that number for Luton. I don't know where this is coming from, but he deserves a ton of credit, because without him in the midfield, I mean, they had very little experience at the Premier League level going into the season. At least he provides that. He had the assists in the 1-0 win against Newcastle over the weekend. So, he's had some okay moments. The goal involvements aren't really there. He's only got 2. He had a goal against Arsenal in that loss that was very heartbreaking for them. But I think Luton Town, and I guess we'll quickly touch on this. Do you guys think they survive? I think of the 3 teams, as Andrew mentioned, they're probably the most likely to survive. Do you guys have them surviving? Or
I would agree with what you said, that of the 3 that are in the relegation zone, that they're the most likely to survive. I feel like they've picked it up a lot lately, but I don't know if I see it.
I don't think any of them survive.
No,
that's fair.
Yeah.
It's tough for Luton, but again, of the 3 sides, I think they've been the most inspiring of the 3. And before we move on to Manchester City, I don't think we touched on this, but Tom Lockyer, the captain of Luton Town, obviously suffered cardiac arrest against Bournemouth a couple weekends ago. He's now in much better condition. So that's really good news, despite everything that's going on currently within the squad. Let's move on to Manchester. We have 2 teams. Let's start off with Manchester City, who have returned from the Club World Cup. Got a win against Everton. Some good players are in very, very good form. But who are we going to lean with here?
I'm going with Rodri. I think he's the best holding midfielder in the world. I think he has been for a while, and I don't think anyone will just admit it. And now he scores goals. So I mean, he didn't before.
Great.
Now it's like now he scores goals. So to me, that makes him even better. I mean, he helped them win the Champions League final. When he's not on the field, Calvin Phillips could freaking shine his shoes, if you ask me. And I think that it's crazy how Fernandinho, who was so vital to their success in the first phase of the City dynasty, if you will, was so vital to their success, and they literally could not find a better replacement in Rodri. And he's better. I mean, he's an even better player than Rodri was. I
Fernandinho.
Fernandinho. What did I say?
You said Rodri. You
Oh,
said better than
Rodri
Rodri was.
replacing Rodri, yeah. Excuse me. Replacing Fernandinho, who was so vital, but finding Rodri, who I think is even better. And again, I think that he is just incredibly vital to their success. And I don't think he gets enough credit. I could pick a ton of other people, a handful of other people that would be more obvious, but I'm going to stick with Rodri.
Yeah, for me, I mean, once again, going on the premise of underappreciated. When you look at Man City's forwards, Erling Haaland, Julian Alvarez, Jeremy Doku is my pick. Yeah, I mean,
I like him a lot.
I love this kid. I mean, talk about how all three forwards from Manchester City can provide goal contribution on a consistent manner. Like that's insane for a club. But Doku specifically, I mean, in 11 appearances, 2 goals, 5 assists. I mean, he's playing well, and like he can go. Like I said, he can go unnoticed behind the 2 other forwards. And I'm glad Pep is finding ways to put Doku in the game. Whether it be some like way on the wing or but like Doku deserves more playing time. He's playing very well for City. He's taking advantage of every minute he's on the pitch.
I think he's better than Grealish.
Ooh.
I don't think Grealish is that great. I really don't.
I don't know.
I'm
different styles.
Grealish is a drunken sailor.
Oh, I know.
On the wing, and literally too. But yeah, as Ricardo was saying, Doku is much more dynamic. It's 2 different play styles.
That's fair. Yeah.
Grealish is still a very good dribbler. Not the pace. Doku is much better pace. I mean, we're not gonna.
He's a much better passer than Doku. I think we've seen
he's not a goal scorer.
As a playmaker versus. I mean, Doku's raw pace and dribbling. I went with Doku as well. I mean, he has 8.14 touches in the penalty per 90, 99th percentile. I mean, he's probably. It's hard to think of a better pure dribbler in the league. He's just so gifted on the ball, and he's so quick too. I mean, he's definitely one of Belgium's best young players too. I think if they are going to win the league and maybe even potentially win a double with the Champions League, I think he needs to be fully fit. Obviously, dealing with an injury right now, but if he can get back to full fitness and have a big second half, I think City could potentially win 2 trophies.
Probably, yeah. I'm just going to say, I'm going to echo Jacob's sentiment. I'm picking Rodri too. So, one of the best, if not the best, midfielders in the world. And pains me to say it, but he is just really, really good. I mean, on the ball, defending especially. I mean, seriously, adding in the goals, it just makes it that much more difficult to stop him. So, just the knack for the big moments, man. It's just something about it. He's just got that 8 factor. But yeah, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, he's definitely the best DM in the world. I think at this point it's tough to make a case for anyone else.
I just remember it was funny because he was asked about someone asked him a question. I think it was like a Jules Breach at some awards show, and he was talking about how sometimes Erling doesn't do his job, so I have to do it for him. And so the goal he scored in the final. I just find that really funny, but to me he's the whole package. I mean, the fact that City's midfield last year was Gundogan, Rodri, De Bruyne. I legitimately think that's one of the 5 best midfields the Premier League's ever had. And I know that's saying a lot, but it is.
It's fair. Triple season.
Maybe the best 10. He's definitely. You can make a case for De Bruyne to be the best 10 in Premier League history. Rodri, if he continues at this rate, I mean, there's a lot of good defensive midfielders in the history of the Prem, but he's going to be up there. And Gundogan's maybe one of the best eights as in terms of, getting his goals, especially last year. I mean, clutch goals time after time for Gundogan. They're solely missing, they're certainly missing him in that aspect. But Rodri's a big player. Let's move on to Manchester United, though, who got a huge win over Aston Villa to take some pressure off Eric Ten Hag. They're still in a good spot in the Premier League despite bad performances. But any standout players?
Can I say none?
No, you got
no. There's definitely some.
Not very many, but
I can give a shot or a shout. I can give a shot to this guy too, Scott McTominay. He's been impressive for me, but honestly, Diogo Dalot. I mean,
Really?
honestly, he's involved. He's involved in the most when he plays. He's involved in the most clean sheets on that team.
But
I don't think he's a good defender.
He's not.
There has to be a correlation. There has to be a correlation.
No, I think it's more Onana saving them.
Oh, I don't know about that.
But honestly, I think it's Scott McTominay. It's hard. It's hard, but Scott McTominay,
which is crazy because we would not have said that going into the year.
No, I mean they wanted to sell him, and it made sense, and because of the midfielders that they brought in and that they had, and I'd agree. If I'm gonna give it, if I'm for the sake of parity, he hasn't played much, but I really like Kobe Mainoo. He hasn't played much. I like him a lot. I think he's really good. I think they don't have a lot of bright spots. That's one of them. There was the Liverpool game, which was not very eventful. He put this pass on. I forgot who it was. He had delivered some pass in the game. It was
It might have been Garnacho.
Yeah, it was like perfect. I mean, but it was wasted. But it was like the most perfect pass. And the Everton game, he played really well. I mean, everyone was going nuts about how good he played. Even Roy Keane, for crying out loud, said he played well, which is saying a lot. But I like him a lot. To me, I think that's one thing that they have to be excited about. And Garnacho to me is like a dog that needs to be trained.
Yep.
He's like the puppy dog that isn't.
It's very good.
It's like you want to let him off the leash, but it's like no. It's like no. And it's just like he just wants to go a million miles an hour. But if they can harness that talent the right way, I think he can be very impactful. And the thing about him is he actually seems like he has a pulse, so that's a good thing.
I'm going McTominay too, by the way. I mean he scored 2 goals in stoppage time was against.
Yeah, they're all another guy. They only scores goals in important points in the game.
Yeah, so for that reason specifically, I'm gonna pick McTominay. So,
I mean, can you imagine if before the season, if let's say we were gonna predict who would be the guy that we would shout out for Man United, where do you think he'd be on the list? I think he'd be in the top
outside
8.
the top 15.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Onana to me is like he's like for use an analogy, he's like the baseball player who's like the home run strikeout guy.
So Joey Gallo.
No, I like him because we'll call him Giancarlo Stanton.
I don't know. It's Reece James.
Well, yeah. Well, he can be. Yeah, and Darren Waller. I mean, it's all connected. No hamstring. But anyway, yeah. I mean, Onana to me, it's like I really want him to be good because he seems like a really likable guy. He's very accountable, which I like about him. Which is why I actually think that we always talk about who should be the captain. I know he just got there, but he exudes the most leadership qualities of anyone on the entire team. I mean, he's the goalie, and every time that he has a bad game, I don't think he's ever deflected blame once. And yes, that's great, and you'd like him to actually get better. And it almost falls on deaf ears when he doesn't, and he just says all that stuff. But I don't know. I don't think that this will be a flop. I don't. I just don't. I think there's too much talent to me.
Yeah, I think as you get more stability around him, I think when you get Lisandro Martinez back, I think they're going to need to replace Varane because I think he's going to leave in the summer. It's
Or
just not gonna-
January.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think if they have a much more complete defense, I think Onana is going to look much more stable in the back. And unfortunately for them, he's going to have to go to AFCON with Cameroon. So they're going to lose him for, upwards of a month, which kind of bad timing because he's starting to pick it up. But I'm going to go with Garnacho. The numbers aren't, awesome, but he does have 4 goal involvements. He probably has the goal of the season at Everton. And I think without him, they would lose so much from the wide areas. Jadon Sancho, not available. It seems like he's going to be gone by the end of next month. And Anthony has been probably the biggest flop for price in the Premier League. It just doesn't make any sense. And we'll touch on another team later who, bought a winger from Ajax, and he's doing well. And then Anthony, unfortunately, just has not been effective at all. He's only had a couple goals. I think his last goal was in
Definitely
April.
not this year.
It's just been a really tough time for Anthony, and Jadon Sancho, on being exiled from the squad, has just left them with very few options on the wide areas. Luckily, Garnacho's been good, especially with Rashford struggling for form. So I think if Garnacho, as Jacob mentioned, if he's, they really, play him week in, week out, and he gets a little more consistency because the pace is there, the dribbling's there. I think he just needs to become a little bit better in the final third. And if he does that, they have a really good player in him. So that's who I'm going to lean with for United. But let's move on to Newcastle, who have dealt with plenty of injuries this season. They are now out of the Champions League, and they're really trying to find their form in the Premier League. Who are we going with?
Can I guess Jacobs real quick?
Go on.
Go ahead.
Does his last name rhyme with tone?
No.
Damn it. Well, I'm going to say it anyways. It's Miguel Almiron.
But no, it's not. I didn't know you were talking about, but no, it's not it.
Miggy. Just fun energy. Miguel Almiron is just a guy. He's fun. And, whenever
Sound
he
like Chris
comes on,
Collinsworth.
I love this guy. I love Miguel Almiron. I don't necessarily know why I love him. He talk about a guy who will score like just in the most random moments.
Good goals too, not like
Good,
crappy
great,
goals.
golazos.
That's true.
Golazos. Outside the box. I mean, that's Miguel Almiron. Left foot, bang. Curve, bang. I love this guy. So it's easy. It's Miguel Almiron.
Mine, but actually is going to be Alexander Isak. I really like Alexander Isak. To me, he's a proper striker, proper 9. When I think of a striker, what I want goals, and that's what he does. He scores goals, and when he's he's in the box, and it's just him. He's not going to miss, and that's what I like about him. He's like what I want Nicholas Jackson to be. I mean, honestly, and speaking of the African Cup of Nations, thank God that Nicholas Jackson will be partaking in it. Don't rush your way back home. I'll tell you that. And I think Isak is better than Callum Wilson. I think Eddie Howe should play them together, in all honesty, because I think that you could get more out of the attack if you played them together. But I understand him not wanting to do that. But for me, I could have picked Gordon, but that would be too obvious. So I stuck with Isak. I think that he's been one of the good parts of Newcastle in a chaotic season.
I feel like I have to give a different attacker some love, and I'm going to give it's Anthony Gordon because he's been, Newcastle's probably dealt with the most injuries I think I've ever seen ever from any team across the world. So the fact that Anthony Gordon's, been there for the most part, he hasn't, I think he was injured like early on in the season. It wasn't very serious, but he's still a young player, very promising player. And he has, I believe it's 6 goals. 4 assists in the Premier League. So just a really, really good player. who still has a lot of room to grow. And I think he's taking advantage of the opportunities he's getting. So, and he should stay in the lineup if when all these other players get healthy. But and even if he doesn't, you definitely got to. I mean, you still have a quality super sub in him because he's quick, he's witty, he's clever with the ball. So Anthony Gordon's my pick. So.
Anthony Gordon's a funny one. I thought at Everton he was a little overrated, but then you always forget like how young these players actually are. Anthony Gordon is super young, and he's having a phenomenal year at Newcastle. It was absolutely the right move transferring. And so, no, Anthony Gordon's a great shout.
Yeah. I'm going to go with a teenage midfielder before Ricardo leaves. Lewis Miley has come out of nowhere to play a consistent role in the starting 11. Ricardo mentioned the injuries. Tonali suspended. Longstaff's dealt with an injury. Joe Linton was out for a period. I mean, you go down the line in every department, they have missed multiple players. And Lewis Miley was not really playing at all. I'm sure he was playing, for the U21s, but then all of a sudden he was put in a position where he had to start in the Champions League. He was starting week in and week out in the Prem. He already has over 600 league minutes at 17 years old for a team that has aspirations to, reclaim a spot back in the Champions League next year. I don't know how he's doing it. He already has 2 goal involvements, and it's pretty remarkable that a kid at his age is playing for a team as big as Newcastle. So, that's an underrated shout for Newcastle, but this is when we're going to lose Ricardo. So,
I'll
go down to 3 in a minute.
Yeah, I'll send you my picks. But it was a pleasure, boys.
Yep.
Keep it up. I mean, I'll watch the rest of this when it comes out. So, all right, guys. See you.
Take care, Ricardo.
All right. We got 4 teams left. Let's move on to, we have 5. Sorry. Let's move on to Nottingham Forest, who have just made a change at the manager spot. Now they have Nuno Espirito Santo in there. Got a big win against Newcastle on Boxing Day. Guys, what are we thinking for them?
Go on. For me, it's easy.
Andrew, you're good.
For me, it's Chris Wood. I mean, just look real quick at his stats: 7 goals and 18 shots. That's just screams, good goal scorer to me. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't watched a ton of Forest this year, other than times Brighton's played them. Really, maybe put him on here and there. But Chris Wood is someone I've noticed. I mean, they've surprisingly, looking at their stats, they've surprisingly gotten decent goal scoring volume from their forwards. Ilanga's having a decent season for him as well. But Chris Wood is the best of the bunch right now, so got to go him. And I have to be honest, haven't heard his name a lot. Around league talk. I mean, it's Forest, so come on. But Chris Wood's having a sneaky good year.
Mine's Anthony Ilanga. Couldn't cut it at Man U, but he seems like he's found his groove at Nottingham Forest. And again, I don't think that's an indictment really on Man U that much, because I think a lot of guys just can't perform at big clubs and aren't fit to play at big clubs. I just think he's in the right situation, and I think he's taking advantage of it. He's got 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 goal involvements. I think that leads the team. He wasn't, I don't think, starting right off the bat, but I think that he started to make his place in the team and just be a big contributor down the wing. And I like why I think he's a fun player to watch, and I think he gives you a reason to want to watch Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, it's hard to go against that one. I think Ilanga's been definitely their best winger. They're looking for more from Callum Hudson-Odoi, who's had a lot of injuries throughout the years. Jacob would know best.
Yep.
Only 10 appearances, 1 goal, started at the weekend. But I think when you look at the attacking output, which they're thankfully getting the production, as Andrew mentioned, from Chris Wood, because Taiwo Enowani, the Nigerian striker, was off to a flying start and then obviously went down with a big injury. He's going to be out for a while. So if they're going to stay up, Chris Wood's going to have to be pouring in the goals. And, he did that over the Boxing Day, scoring a hat trick against his former club. So big result for Nuno, who needed a big start, because Steve Cooper was certainly a fan favorite at Forest. So big shoes to fill there. But let's move on
real quick. Steve Cooper potentially going to Palace too. Let's see if they sack good old Roy Hodgson for Steve Cooper. That's the rumor right now. So
good.
That'd be very quick transition.
Yes, good mention. Let's move on to Sheffield United, another team really, really struggling. Also made a early coaching change. Chris Wilder's back at the club, but again, just hasn't been very good at the moment. Anybody stand out for you guys?
Ollie McBurney. I have really nothing to say about Sheffield. They suck. They're really bad.
They are very bad.
Yeah, I don't spend a lot of time watching Sheffield United. My eyes are not from watching Chelsea, so I prefer not to watch them. I had to watch them because they were playing Chelsea last weekend, and no one on that team really popped off me at all. So yeah, but for the sake of this topic, Ollie McBurney.
I had to go with I'm in the same boat as Jacob. They're a disgusting watch. To be honest, I'll say it. They're the most disgusting watch in the Prem right now, Sheffield. But I'm gonna go with Vinicius Sousa, not only because he shares the same first name as my guy Vinicius Jr. But
is he even the best Vinicius in the Premier League? He's the one at Fulham.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right.
That's an argument to be had.
Yep. But hey, 63 tackles for him this season, second in the Prem. So there's that.
Yeah,
I don't have anything to say about Sheffield. That's my only reasoning.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you guys remember when they were in the Prem a couple years back before COVID? They are in much worse shape, squad-wise, than they were back then. I mean, and it's a very similar style. Obviously, Chris Wilder's back, but I think this group of players it's going to be very difficult. That they are, of the three promoted sides, I think they're the most likely to finish bottom. I know they got a good result at Villa, but again, that's a game they needed 3 points from, not one. I'm going to go with Gustavo Hammer, the Dutch midfielder. I was looking at his numbers from last season, wasn't at the club. He was actually at Coventry City, who lost in the championship final. He had 19 goal involvements. He only has two goals and 2 assists. I think if they're going to get any sort of form in the second half of the season, they need goals from the midfield, because McBurdy's, not, an out-and-out goal scorer. He's very physical, but beyond that, he's kind of a target man. They need Cameron Archer to be very good, but again, there's not many bright spots. You guys have mentioned it. But Hammer's going to have to give them goals from the midfield if they want any chance of staying up. But that's enough for Sheffield. They're definitely the worst side in England. Let's move on to Tottenham, who have been up and down. Today, not a good result by all means, as Andrew mentioned. Any bright spots? I know there's been some injuries, but what are you guys thinking for them?
For me, I found this stat interesting. So I'm going to go with Sarr, Pape Sarr. And Spurs they don't have a single point when he doesn't start.
Great start.
Which I believe it's 5 matches he hasn't started or started off the bench. And they are pointless when that occurs. So Sarr is very important for them in the midfield. As a defensive midfielder, but honestly, for Spurs with that attack up front, you need a little bit of a pacier defensive midfielder. He's a good holding midfielder, and he seems to get back pretty fast. Good attitude on him. You don't really see him go nuts. He doesn't have he doesn't lose his composure. That's what I wanted to say. He doesn't lose his composure, and as a 6, that is very important, especially in the situations you're going to be in. And he's also only 21. He's very young, and so I think Sarr is a bright spot in this age group for defensive midfielders, and I think Spurs should continue to play him, just continue to start him.
Yeah, for me, it's James Madison, not the 4th president of the United States. The Madison with 2 D's at the end of it in his last name. I just really like James Madison. I've liked him for a while. I think that his injury has coincided with this Tottenham I don't want to say spiral, but slippage, so to speak, that they've been going through lately. I think his absence from the team due to injury is a massive reason for it. He was on fire to start the season. I think he had 3 goals, 5 assists, and he was really making his impact as a 10. And I think that he was. I don't think he's ever looked that good. Even when he was at Leicester, he never looked that good. So to me, James Madison.
Yeah, that's. I think prior to the injury, probably the best 10 in the league. The orchestrator of literally everything they were doing offensively, and they desperately need him back, especially with the AFCON absentees, which is Pape Sarr and Basuma in the midfield. They're also going to lose Son for the Asian Cup of Nations, so they're going to have some trouble coming their way in January and early February. But I'm going to mention the defense. I think the center back pairing before the injuries and the suspensions and everything it was very good, but they have had consistency from the fullbacks the entire season. Destiny Udogie has been phenomenal in his first Premier League season. I think he's been really, really good. I think he's going to find himself in the Italian setup pretty quickly. I could see him going to Euros. I think he deserves to be there. Really, really good going forward. Very athletic. He's very aggressive in tackles, but he's also very smart for a guy at his age. I've been really impressed by his defensive work rate. So I'm going to lean towards Udogie at that left back spot. Let's stay in London with West Ham, who got a monumental result today against Arsenal at the Emirates, winning and getting all 3 points there. They got a lot of guys that have been impressive, but who are you going to pick here?
So
you
go, Jacob.
Okay, I'm not going to pick Jared Bowen because it's too obvious, and I'll let one of you talk about him. I have to pick my guy, James Ward-Prowse. I was tempted to take Areola. I think Areola is really underrated. I don't know why they took it.
Very good keeper.
I don't think they ever should have taken him out, even when he was back from injury. I don't think they should have ever taken him out of the team, personally. But I'll stick with Ward-Prowse here. Again, they only got him for 40 million. Again, I understand he was at Southampton. I don't know how this guy was so cheap. I don't get it. And I don't get why my team couldn't sign him. But no, he's too old, I guess. Which is ridiculous. He's not even 30.
20 or under.
Anyway, but to me, I think this year because he's playing for David Moyes, he's picked up his defensive tenacity, and it's showing. He runs back a lot more, tries to make tackles, gets interceptions, stuff like that. And he hasn't really gotten to do that much this year, but we know how good he is as a free kick artist. He's one of the best ever in the Premier League. That's how many goals he has. and he's a playmaker. I think he leads them in assists with 6, and he can score goals. To me, he's again. I would like to see him on a bit. I know West Ham is a good team. I still think he's top 4 worthy as far as the teams are concerned. Where he played for a certain team is a different story, but to me, again, the fact that he ain't in the England team, I mean, what are we doing?
Yep.
I mean, come on. I mean, really, we're gonna. I mean, again, this isn't even about Conor Gallagher, but like, come on, he's not better than James Ward-Prowse. I'm sorry, he's not. Watch the tape. He's not better than James Ward-Prowse. You don't have to be a hater to understand that, okay? But again, I mean, he should be in the England team, and I think he's been a big one of the reasons why they've had this jump. And yeah, I'll stick with my guy James Ward-Prowse.
It's fair. I'm gonna go with. Well, I have actually 2 picks. One's more obvious than the other. The more obvious one is Mohamed Kudus. I've loved Mohamed Kudus when he was at Ajax.
You wanted him at Brighton.
I wanted him at Brighton so badly. I mean, it actually turned out to be okay because of João Pedro, who plays the same position. So it ended up working out for both sides. But I still have that undying love for Mohamed Kudus, and he talk about a guy who will streak fast. He's got great pace, and I mean, I think he's a very underrated young striker in the world. But also want to give a shout out to Emerson, left back. Every time I watch West Ham, Emerson always has a pinpoint cross of some sort. I think he has one of the more underrated crosses in the Prem.
Yeah.
And I mean, today he had the first goal for West Ham all started.
He caused havoc in the box.
That was a perfect cross, and then which ultimately led to Jared Bowen poking it out, and
that was out.
Suchek. I thought it was out too. Initially.
I don't know why they were like, oh, there wasn't enough to overturn it. He's so far out of bounds.
But that's
not close.
Well, it's not about his body; it's where the ball was. I don't know.
The ball's over the line. I'm sorry.
The ball did look.
I can't. I'm not gonna complain.
The point is,
Emerson.
I'm just
saying, for the sake of rules, but yeah, sorry, go on.
No, all good. Emerson still caused chaos, and that seems to happen every time I watch him cross the ball. I think one of the more underrated fullbacks in the Prem. So shout out to him and Mohamed Kudus.
Yeah, Bowen's an easy pick. I think when you look at the striker problems they've had with Mikel Antonio, Danny Ings is not even getting a sniff at the starting striker position. And Scamacca was not a non-factor last year. And it was so bad to the point where he had to go back to Italy to try to regain his form. I think Bowen's been their best player for, a couple of years now. He helped them win the Conference League last year. He was so important along with Declan Rice. And I think he is, as Jacob mentioned, another guy like Ward-Prowse who could probably play for top 4 side. Bowen can do the same. And it's tough because a lot of these teams have, a right winger spot locked and loaded. But if there's a spot for, a club, maybe, Salah could leave in the summer. I wouldn't complain with Bowen being a replacement. It's, not the flashiest player, but he scores, he's involved. He's a very complete player, and he doesn't get enough attention because he plays at West Ham. If he was anywhere else, I think he would be considered one of the more high-profile guys at the right winger spot in the Premier League. But let's move on to our final team, and that is Wolves, who have been pretty entertaining, I would say. Maybe not as heavily, given attention to as other teams, but Gary O'Neill's done a very, very good job with this squad. But for your final players, Jacob, I'll start with you. Who are you leaning towards?
Hwang Hee-chan. I hope I got that right.
Yes.
He's got 10 goals. I think I saw something where it's like when he puts the ball on target, it's usually gonna go in. He he'll miss, but like if it's on target, it's probably gonna go in. That he's accurate from that standpoint. And I think he's had a really solid season. Especially, I mean, he already got 10 goals. That's a good pace. Again, as I said, with like a guy like Solanke, this applies to him too. How much he'll be able to keep it up, I have no idea.
Right.
But I agree with you. But I think Garrett Neal's done a really good job, especially when you consider the fact that he got there like a day before, and was basically rushed into the managerial job. And I'm just happy that he's starting to focus more on trying to win and not cry about VAR. So that's what he spent all his time doing when he started. So it's good to know that he's got his head in the right place.
How about
But yeah,
that?
Wolves are a team that I think they were a possible relegation team because it seemed like they had so much drama and chaos right before the season started. But to me, I'd be shocked if they were even. I think they could sniff top 10.
I completely agree. I think I originally picked in my predictions Wolves to be relegated. I was dead wrong.
I think all of us were.
But how about that for South Korea? That top you got Hwang Hee-chan and Son Heung-min. Anyways, no, that's a great pick. I'm gonna go with Pablo Sarabia. And Pablo Sarabia, he recently came back, I believe from injury, but he's leading the club in assists so far, 6 big chances created. It seems like he's always involved some way in a goal for Wolves. I think he seems to come up with a few hockey assists a bunch of the time that goes unnoticed, goes uncredited. The goals usually start out with Sarabia in the midfield. And I mean, he's been a big part of Hwang Hee-chan getting his goals. I think he's been his beneficiary most of the time. And by the way, I was wrong. I forgot about Pedro Neto. He's leading Wolves in assists with 7. But Pablo Sarabia is still my pick.
Yeah, Neto.
Underrated Spanish midfielder.
Yeah, I think Pedro Neto is definitely their best player. The problem is he can't stay on the field. This has been an issue as long as he's been at Wolves. But again, he's only got 10 league appearances and he's got a league best 7 assists. So if they can get him on the field, I think Jacob's spot on. I think they're in for a top 10 finish. But I'm going to go with Mario Lemina, the midfielder from Gabon. 4 league goals. He scored against Chelsea, Brentford, and Tottenham. Tottenham, that was a winner too. Just coming up with goals. And he was a guy that had some good moments at Southampton. I think he went to France. He was at Nice. Yeah. He's kind of bounced around, but for Wolves, he's been consistent. And again, they've needed consistency from the midfield, especially after losing Ruben Neves and João Moutinho in the summer. They needed a spark from the midfield, and luckily Lemina's brought that to them. So that's who I'm going to go with. But yeah, I think that's all we got. It's a much longer episode. Thank you so much for staying with us if you are still here. It's been a pleasure.
Real quick,
I'm sorry.
I got to shout out my Gabon national team.
My Gabon.
I love Gabon. Jacob, you'll love him too. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, the abomination in your eyes. Denis Bouanga from LAFC. And Mario Lemina. How about that? Love Gabon.
Yeah, maybe they'll do good. They've qualified for AFCON, yeah? Probably.
I got it. AFCON's going to be a watch this year. But
I would have to believe that they qualified.
Before we sign off, I'm actually going to search up who qualified for AFCON.
I don't see them.
Yeah, I do not see them either.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah,
because Aubameyang's been good for Marseille.
Yeah,
which
wow.
I don't think many expected, but that's a shame. Yeah, that would have been cool to watch.
Oh, well. R.I.P. Gabon.
Only if only he saved some of that for last season, but I guess that would be asking for too much.
I forgot. I forgot he was at Chelsea, man.
Yeah.
I knew that wasn't going to work the minute I saw him hold up that jersey.
Number 9.
Wrote a whole article about it, by the way. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll be able to find it if you scroll a bit. But yeah, small
Fun.
plug there.
Yep. Anything else before we go?
Well, I was going to read out Ricardo's other picks, but he did send them.
Yes, he did.
All right. Real quick, I'll read out Ricardo's picks before we sign off for the last 5. Forrest, he also picked Anthony Alonga. Langa. Sheffield, he went West Fotheringham. Spurs, Son. Come on, Ricardo.
Give him a break.
West Ham, Jared Bowen. And Wolves, our guy, Huang Hee-chan.
There we go.
Yeah. We did it.
Well,
We went through
after
every
an hour
club.
and 50+ minutes, we are finally at our destination. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe. Let us know if there's anything you'd like us to talk about in the future. And of course, be prepared. We have a good episode coming next week, including Jacob's Rant of the Week.
You don't want to miss his Chelsea talk. Oh,
They better be, if they don't beat Luton Town, and I don't care if it's in that cranky dank stadium. I don't give a rat. They need to win the friggin' game.
What's an acceptable score?
1-0 is acceptable.
He doesn't care.
That's how low the bar is,
point.
Andrew.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay. I didn't, because you were upset about them winning 2-1 against Palace. So I didn't know if it needed to be 3-0. Well, so
they beat Luton, I think 4 or 3-1 in like August when they played. That'd be or 3-0. I would accept that. Will it happen? Probably not. But it'd be nice.
But you won't. I mean, of course, you have to see what happens in the match. But you wouldn't be upset if it's 1-0.
No, I will be if it's 1-1.
No.
That I will not accept a freaking draw.
Okay.
I don't. That is unacceptable.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know.
And I don't care if they're down 2-0. I will not accept the draw.
Wait.
All right. We'll find out.
Okay.
You get the point. They have to win.
Wait. I'm sorry. Wait. But before we sign off, I know we're stalling. Did you really just say you'd rather lose 2-0 than draw?
No. I said I won't.
No, he said he wasn't comfortable with a draw. Even if they're down 2.
I said I don't care if it's 2-0. I won't accept the draw.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. I was like, wait.
No.
Why did you just say that?
No, I never want to. Hell no.
All right. Cool. Glad we cleared that up. But
yeah.
All right. Oh, good episode, boys.
Yes.
Indeed.
Let's do it again next week.
Yes.
Peace out.